The Nativity of Jesus refers to the birth narratives found in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke in the New Testament, and it's one of the oldest and most beloved Christmas traditions. It is now December after all, writes Steve, and so we begin our annual descent into that crazy season we so lovingly call the festive period, also known as 4 weeks of eating too much, drinking too much, and spending too much. There are several Christmas songs that will haunt you in every shop you go into from now until January. Steve says his top of the pop from Hell's playlist includes Mistletoe and Wine by Cliff Richard, Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney, Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, but top of Steve's list is I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day by the glam rock band Wizard from 1973. I'm sure you have a few yourself that you made. However, the music chosen for today's service has been carefully selected to lift your spirits, not torment your soul, and none of the aforementioned songs will be making an appearance. Many of us have mixed feelings about Christmas and dislike the high expectations, commercialism, and the pressure to spend. It is meant to be a magical, joyful, and picture-perfect occasion, often idealized by movies, social media, even family tradition. But for many people, Christmas can instead be a messy reality of stress, disappointment, loneliness, emotional chaos, and debt. The Christmas financial burden is a term referring to the extra costs we incur at this time of year. The pressure to buy gifts, decorate homes, host family and friends, and travel to visit loved ones can quickly escalate into overdraft, credit, or even dipping into savings. Many feel obliged to meet these social and commercial pressures, resulting in a debt hangover that lasts long after the holidays have ended. For lower income families especially, this time of year can be even harder, as the desire to provide children with gifts and a festive experience may conflict with the need to cover basic living costs. Banks and other lending institutions target people at this time of year with the offer of extra credit, leading many to succumb to temptation. The Christmas economic culture starts early in Britain, and we all groan when we see the first mince pies and tins of chocolates in the shops. It seems to sneak in earlier each year, and once Halloween is over, it's non-stop advertisements and sales promotions to buy, intensifying the message that love and happiness can only be measured by material gifts. Many retailers make about 60% of their profit at Christmas. On Christmas Day, around late afternoon, the sales adverts begin. Everything you bought as presents is now half price. You need a new kitchen as well, don't you? And you certainly need a new sofa. And you simply must book that summer 2026 holiday right now, or you will miss out on your best holiday ever. Then it's the New Year, new advert, enticing you to join the gym, to lose those £10 you gained from stuffing all those chocolates at mince pies you were forced at gunpoint to eat. Diet starts January the 1st. Promise. One study shows that 80% of people who join a gym as a New Year's resolution will quit by February. Another study that 4 out of 5 will quit within 5 months. Before long, the shops are full of Easter eggs. This is not really what the real spirit of Christmas is about. It's about gratitude, togetherness, and compassion for those less well off. This year, maybe set a small budget per person, stick to that budget, and refuse to feel any guilt about the amount. Guilt is a wasted emotion. It's you who will be paying the cost, not them. Perhaps only buy presents for the younger members of your family. Christmas means more to them than adults. Or perhaps a thoughtful rather than expensive gift. Something you've cooked, like a cake, their favourite meal, or maybe a nice photo and frame. Something for the food bank. A small chocolate box that might really make a child's Christmas special. Or perhaps next year we could, as a congregation, support a Christmas shoebox appeal to the Samaritan's Purse UK, or a small gift box to the food bank full of toiletries or small toys. What lovely ideas, Steve. Grief becomes more raw at Christmas too, as we remember loved ones no longer sharing the day with us. The cold, short days don't help either, and I'm sure we have all had Christmases and New Years where we thought, thank goodness that's over for another year. But we're now going to turn to song, and I invite you to sing our first hymn, which is the carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem. It's number 85 in the Green Hymn Book, but the words will appear on the screen. We now have a short Bible reading from the Gospel of Luke chapter 2, verses 1 to 7 from the New International Version. And it's the birth of Jesus. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. So we're coming to the first part of our service to look at the main characters in a traditional nativity play and set the scene, so to speak. Well, the scene is, of course, 1st century CE Bethlehem in the province of Judea in what we now call Israel-Palestine. Bethlehem is about 6 miles from Jerusalem, the holiest city for the Jewish people and site of their primary shrine for worship, the second, or what is sometimes called Herod's temple. Bethlehem at the time of Jesus was part of the mighty Roman Empire and ruled by Herod the Great, a Roman client king. Roman taxation and occupation were significant burdens for the population, and the political atmosphere was one of fear, violence, and rebellion. The people wanted a messianic salvation figure to arise and fulfill God's promise to his people. A golden age would then be ushered in, ruled by a king from the line of David, not from Rome. This eventually led to a catastrophic war with Rome, the destruction of the Second Temple, the nation, and exile for nearly 2,000 years. The correct pronunciation is Bethlehem, which means house of bread, a reference to the fertility of the area. It was a small agricultural village, likely to have a few hundred residents only. The surrounding hills would have been used for pasturing sheep, and according to tradition, the lambs from this area were used for the temple sacrifices in Jerusalem, including at the Passover. Passover, sacrifice, and Jesus all have significant links in Christianity. There are several Bible stories in the Old Testament, or what we now call the Hebrew Bible, featuring Bethlehem, and these include the story of Ruth, the burial site of Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob, but more importantly, as the birthplace of King David, Israel's greatest king. Therefore, Bethlehem was associated with messianic significance, the reason why Jesus being born here was so important. Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus, the Holy Family, need no introduction, of course. The Holy Family are en route to Bethlehem for a Roman census described in the Gospel of Luke, which we've just heard. Caesar Augustus ordered this census for taxation and military purposes, although the Jews, in fact, were exempt from the military service. Joseph was required to return there for the census, and so they embark on this 70 to 90-mile journey from Nazareth and Galilee on foot and donkey. They arrive exhausted, but there's no room at the inn due to the census crowds. So they end up in a stable, most likely a cave, and the romanticized nativity scene of so many a Christmas card is now set in place. Romanticized it truly is, as giving birth in this period was the most dangerous experience in a woman's life, and 1 in about 10 would actually die in their reproductive lives from childbirth-related causes, which could include hemorrhage, infection, or obstruction, especially in younger mothers. Infant mortality was also high, and 1 in 3 babies did not make it to their first birthday. Even today, 2,000 years later, in some third world countries, childbirth-related deaths remain high. This is due to conflict, poverty, infrastructure breakdown, and lack of access to proper health care. Mary's birth went smoothly, though, a sign of divine protection in the narrative. The Church of the Nativity was built in the 4th century by the Emperor Constantine and his mother Helena over the site believed to be where Jesus was born. It is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a pilgrimage site for over 2,000 years. Bethlehem relies heavily on tourism due to its ties as Jesus' birthplace. There are major Christmas celebrations each year around the church and Manger Square, attracting visitors from across the world. Although this is impacted depending on whether the conflict within Israel is either escalated or reasonably calm. And I did hear that celebrations have actually started there this year. So who are the other main characters? The Magi are probably the most well-known of the supporting cast, otherwise known as the wise men or the three kings. The word Magi is from the Greek magoi, a class of priests or astrologers from Persia or Babylon. They're from the East and symbolize the Gentiles, the non-Jews. Their act of worship in bowing to Jesus symbolizes him as the King of Kings, the Saviour for all nations, not just the Jews. The Gospel of Matthew doesn't say three. It has become assumed there were three due to the three gifts which they brought to Jesus, the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They had a bit of mystery and majesty to the Nativity and have captured the imaginations of theologians and especially artists over the centuries. How many Christmas cards have you seen in your lifetime with the wise men on them? As a result, many myths and legends have been added over the years. Their names, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, being one of them. Then, of course, the shepherds. How many nativity plays have you seen with tea towels used for the shepherds' headscarves? In Luke's nativity version, the shepherds are the first to hear the news about the birth of Jesus, not the Magi. It's a radical reversal in a society that ranked people by status, and shepherds would have been way down that list. This shows that Jesus came for the lowly and the outcast, not just the elite. The angels are also players in the Nativity. The angel Gabriel, appearing to Mary in Nazareth, telling her she will conceive a son by the Holy Spirit and name him Jesus. An angel appearing to Joseph in a dream. And then to the shepherds, a multitude of heavenly hosts. There must be something big going on for this level of angel overload. Then there is the Star of Bethlehem. The star is mainly linked to the Magi to guide them to Bethlehem. Divine guidance, a heavenly sign, a symbol of a major spiritual event. And finally, every pantomime needs a villain, and in the Nativity, it's Herod the Great. All we need now are the ugly sisters. Infamous for his paranoia and ruthlessness, Herod doesn't get a good press. After all, in the Nativity story, he tries to kill baby Jesus, but he is without doubt a fascinating and remarkable character. He was an exceptional builder and visionary, expanding and enhancing the Second Temple in Jerusalem to become the largest sanctuary in the ancient world. When the sun rose, the huge white limestone blocks dazzled so brightly that you could barely gaze upon it. People seeing the temple for the first time would have experienced awe, reverence, even disbelief. The Western Wall, one of the remaining walls from this structure, still stands today, the holiest site for the Jewish people. Then there's the fortress palace of Masada in the Judean desert, atop a plateau, an architectural marvel and must-see site for tourists. This is the site where 960 besieged Jewish rebels and their families committed mass suicide rather than surrender to Rome. Herod also created a deep water port on the coast at Caesarea Maritima, and reshaped a mountain near Bethlehem into a fortified palace, renaming it Herodium, and that's where he is believed to have been buried. Herod was a highly efficient ruler, and Rome held him in higher esteem than his subjects ever did. He was never accepted by the people because he didn't have a legitimate Jewish pedigree. The nobility was especially hostile, so he had 45 of the most eminent and worthy nobles executed and confiscated their wealth in response. His attempt to marry into the legitimate Jewish royal family, the Hasmoneans, ended in murder and madness. It's truly Shakespearean, the stuff of legend, like a real-life biblical Othello or Titus Andronicus. Surrounded by court intrigue and manipulation, he had his Hasmonean wife, Miriam, murdered and, according to legend, embalmed in honey. At night, he would, during his frequent bouts of remorse and rage, go down and speak to her corpse. His sons from her, Alexander and Aristobulus, were executed after he believed they were trying to overthrow his rule. His eldest son by his first wife was also executed on Herod's orders. His mother-in-law, his uncle, and brother-in-law drowned in a swimming pool in Jericho, the site of Herod's winter palace complex. The Emperor Augustus said that, of Herod, it is better to be Herod's pig than his son. So in summary, the Nativity tells of the miraculous circumstances in which Jesus is born and, against incredible odds, survives. We're now going to have a short clip about modern-day Bethlehem, which is surrounded by Israel's security barrier built in the early 2000s.
Street artist Banksy is back in the West Bank, where he's made several political statements using graffiti in the past. But this time his focus is not on the walls that exist outside buildings, but on the inside of a new hotel.
A hotel opening this month in Bethlehem hopes people will be willing to pay for what it calls the worst view in the world. The walled-off hotel sits right next to the barrier wall built by Israel in the West Bank, and its rooms look out on concrete and a watchtower. But the view inside might be more appealing. The hotel is a project by the street artist Banksy, and his art fills the building.
Banksy have done almost everything in this building. Almost all of the paintings that you see inside the building were done by Banksy. He was involved in everything that you see around you. So it is actually Banksy's hotel.
Banksy financed and developed the hotel in secret over the past 14 months. His inspiration for its artworks is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. One of the highlights is a mural in a guest room showing a Palestinian and an Israeli soldier in a pillow fight. The hotel also has its own art gallery.
There's a museum that's co-curated between myself and Banksy with a big team of Israeli and Palestinian supporters and advisors working with us. And the museum tells the story of the wall and explores its history and its context from all kinds of angles, so its effect on ordinary people who live here, but also its role as a canvas for graffiti artists from around the world.
The hotel also looks deeper into the past. It was designed like an English gentleman's club from colonial times, a reference to Britain's historical role in Middle East.
And I think this is it's a great opportunity for me to try to promote dialogue and understanding to our situation. Hopefully this wall will fall. Hopefully we can influence to contribute a little bit in putting down this wall and bring peace to this region. This is the most important thing, I think.
The hotel represents a departure in Banksy's career. His work is usually temporary, but this hotel and the artwork in it are settling in for a long stay.
Let's move into a time of reflection and prayer for the Holy Land. Let's not get into politics, and we should consider the whole region and all peoples in the Holy Land. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict is not a religious one, it is about land. Jews and Muslims are united by the patriarch Abraham, a common father to both. Even Iran, Israel's most bitter enemy, states their conflict is not with Jews, but Zionism. It should also be remembered that prior to 1948, Jews were treated far better in Muslim countries than they ever were in Christian ones, including Iran, which had a thriving Jewish community. Israel has a large Arab population, Muslim and Christian, about 20% of the population. These are full Israeli citizens and not Palestinians who live in the West Bank, Gaza, or East Jerusalem. Some even serve in the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF. These include the Druze, a small ethnic Israeli Arab community of about 150,000. Muslim Bedouins, also Israeli citizens, often serve as trackers in the special IDF desert reconnaissance units. The city of Haifa, in the north of Israel, is often cited as a model for Arab-Jewish coexistence. It has a significant population of mixed Muslim and Christian Arabs who live alongside Jewish residents. It is a city renowned for that fact, often referred to as the San Francisco of Israel. Tel Aviv, in a nod to New York's nickname, the Big Apple, is sometimes called the Big Orange. The most populous Israel Arab Christian town or city in Israel is Nazareth, and then Jerusalem. The town in the Palestinian territories with the highest Christian population is called Bet Jala, just west of Bethlehem. And it's estimated there are about 1,000 Christians in Gaza, making up less than 1% of the population of the Strip. The late Pope Francis began calls to the Holy Family Parish Church in Gaza, besieged by Israel since its war with Hamas following the October the 7th attack of 2023. And the conversations continued almost every night until his final days. Many Palestinian Christians are leaving both the West Bank and Gaza, and it's safe to say the last chapter of Palestinian Christianity is being written. And now for our prayer. Divine Spirit, we lift to you the people of the Holy Land. We particularly hold in our thoughts the tiny Christian community of Gaza. We ask for your divine presence to bring peace, healing, and hope. Bless the land where Jesus once walked, where ancient prayers of all three Arab-Aramaic faiths still echo in the streets. May your grace surround those who suffer, and your compassion be felt in every heart. Grant comfort to the grieving, strength to the weary, and courage to those seeking justice and peace. Protect the innocent, heal the wounded, and unite the children of this divided land. May you bring reconciliation and restore the dignity of every soul. Guide the leaders of this land with wisdom, that they may choose the path of peace. And may all people, regardless of faith or heritage, live in harmony. We pray for an end to violence and the dawning of a new day where justice and mercy flow freely, and the Holy Land becomes a place of true peace, an example to the world. Amen. And I invite you to sing again. The next hymn is number 226 in the Green Book, the Song of Peace. We come to the second part of the service. Steve writes, the first Nativity play is widely credited to St. Francis of Assisi on Christmas Eve 1223 in the Italian town of Greccio. He wanted people to experience the birth narratives in a different way than what was currently available to them. Most people in the medieval period were illiterate and would not have understood the Latin spoken by the priests in the church. Attending church would have been an intimidating and probably quite a boring experience. Imagine listening to a church service in a language you don't understand. You'd get nothing out of it spiritually. This is the reason medieval churches and cathedrals had stained glass windows depicting famous Bible scenes in them. They were a form of education and entertainment to the illiterate congregation, visual Bibles, tools for teaching and worship. St. Francis created a reenactment of the Nativity using a manger, including actual animals such as ox and donkey, and people portraying the main characters like Mary and Joseph. The setting was in an actual cave as well for more added ambience. It was a real-life devotional scene which would have made the gospel more accessible, fun and powerful to those watching. Songs would have been sung which evolved into carols, and a mass was held. St. Francis' Nativity service in Greccio set a precedent which the Franciscan monks, named after St. Francis, rapidly spread across Europe. Then there is the York Mystery Plays, a type of medieval religious drama performed in the city of York in the Middle Ages and into Renaissance times. They dramatise stories from the Bible, from creation to the Last Judgment, and included the Nativity. Each play was performed by a trade or craft guild, and they are still performed today. Other countries also have a tradition of nativity plays, including in Germany, where they are called Krippenspiel or crib play. Like in Britain, they're a cherished part of the German Christmas culture, almost identical in style and content. In Latin America, there are pastorellas or little shepherd plays, mainly in countries with a strong Spanish influence, as in Mexico. Interestingly, the devil features in these versions as he tries to mislead the shepherds, which will be interesting to see. I wonder how the devil in a children's nativity play would go down with British parents. Probable comment from them would be, well, that was different, wasn't it? Nativity plays have evolved over the years due to cultural, social, and educational changes. For those here in church and on Zoom, I think our average age would mean we participated in more traditional style nativity plays and would be quite amazed, perhaps mystified even, at some of the modern versions. It's like humour. What is considered acceptable in one decade is not considered acceptable in another. For example, 1970s comedies. Some are banned now, or if they're broadcast, they carry viewer warnings about the content and language. The earliest nativity plays were strictly religious, focusing on the Bible story of Jesus' birth taken from the Gospels. The main characters would have been Mary, Joseph, the baby Jesus, the angels, the shepherds, and the Magi. They would have been performed in churches and religious schools only. They were solemn and scriptural, emphasizing hope, peace, and light entering the world through Jesus. As we moved into the mid-20th century, nativity plays became more common in secular schools, especially in Western countries with a Christian heritage. The plays became simplified and aimed at a younger audience. Carol singing and traditional Christmas hymns were incorporated into the services, like Silent Night or Away in a Manger. Simplified, more musical, more school-friendly. Then, as we go into the late 20th century, we notice a change to include modern dialogue and perhaps even humour. Mixing humour and religion is quite a British thing, isn't it? Think of The Vicar of Dibley and the TV show Rev, or in Ireland, Father Ted. New characters begin to appear like the innkeeper and perhaps talking animals like the donkey. It enabled the whole class to appear in the play instead of just a few main characters, and nodding there. It also enabled the casting to be more inclusive, to allow girls to play traditional male roles. Humour and flexible casting becomes the norm. It must be a real minefield for a school to put on a nativity play. Cultural sensitivity in diverse classrooms means that participation is voluntary, as non-Christian students or their parents might not want them to take part. And then other winter traditions are now sometimes considered as well, such as the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, which is celebrated around the same time as Christmas, or Diwali and Lunar New Year. Nativity plays are now more universal, inclusive, modern and high-tech. Some even call them holiday plays now, or winter festivals, as they are afraid the Christ in Christmas might offend someone. In Britain, we are now so terrified of offending anyone. The wise men, or is it now wise women, wise people, Can girls be shepherdesses? Sustainable gifts for Jesus instead of gold, frankincense or myrrh. Scooters instead of camels. Do we dare say the woke word? Woke nativity services often cause significant controversy. I'm sure some of us have been to modern nativity plays where we have inwardly groaned or thought, am I high? But smiled throughout the entire performance with a fixed wing grimace. It is what the British are renowned for. It's part of the ongoing culture wars, with religious tradition going head to head against inclusive and modern interpretations of faith. The only place you're likely to see an old-fashioned traditional nativity play now is in churches or in more rural, less diverse parts of the country. None of that nativity with a twist nonsense for them. And what about nativity plays in, say, 50 to 100 years? Well, religion in Britain might be illegal in schools by that stage, and the nativity banned altogether. Augmented reality, perhaps, where viewers use smart glasses or devices to see, for example, angels appearing in the sky. Maybe virtual reality, where the nativity play takes place in a digital Bethlehem, and the participants interact with the Magi, the shepherds, and even Mary and Joseph. That would be amazing. AI holograms of the angel Gabriel? The mind boggles. We're now going to have a short clip about real donkeys in the Holy Land.
The work in this region is absolutely vital. In the West Bank, they are still using working equids for everyday life, for building houses, for ploughing fields, for taking goods to market. You know, they're still an essential part of life for many families across the West Bank. We know that what we have been doing for the last 20 years has improved animal welfare in the West Bank. The standards are much higher now. Whilst that's our main objective, we also know that we're helping communities in the West Bank. And it's not because the owners don't want to treat them, it's because they can't afford to treat them.
The reason why we are doing all of this here is because we are learning the donkey situation every day. And we get reports of abused and neglected donkeys every single day. So along the history and the culture, we can see that people are treating very poorly the donkeys in Israel. I think probably donkeys are referred to a very transparent tool of working. You can see agricultures who are still using donkeys, which I'm sure it's probably okay, but sometimes it just crosses the lines and they forget there is an animal on the other side, and they need us. You know, they are asking for our warmth, our closeness. Of course, we have our first goal, very loud and clear, to help donkeys, but I believe that communication and renewing the connection between people and donkeys is as much important to create a change with donkeys' treatment in Israel. And this is, for me, one of the most important things that I'm doing and I'm lucky to do.
Today we're in a place called Karkila in the West Bank. Our vet, Dr. Rakan, is treating a whole variety of working equines that have been injured because of pulling carts and things like that. A lot of the treatment he provides is for wounds. These are typically harness wounds, and therefore it's important that we provide treatment to those animals that they wouldn't otherwise get. As part of the process, They're also educating, so they provide the owners with information about how they can prevent the wounds from happening in the first place. So the message is getting through. People are understanding that, and welfare of these equines is generally going up. With your support, we can reach these animals, and we can reach more of them, and over time we can improve welfare. You know, a lot of the animals that we see today are in a lot better condition than they were prior to us working in this area. So it's absolutely vital that we continue to visit these places, to provide this treatment and to improve welfare overall.
We now come to the final part of the service. Oh, I beg your pardon, there's a song as well. Silent Night sung in Arabic. Beautiful. So we now come to the final part of the service. The Nativity has had such a huge impact culturally on Christianity and such a huge part of the Christmas tradition. I would say, writes Steve, the average secular Brit, if asked where Jesus was born, would say Bethlehem and have taken part as a child, or at least watched a nativity play. Most of us have seen a Christmas card with the nativity scene or received one. And Christmas tree decorations. What goes on the top? An angel or a star usually. And the amount of TV shows, films about the nativity is endless. It's even spread into mainstream secular entertainment. How many storylines have you seen when a baby is born at Christmas on a soap opera like EastEnders, Coronation Street or Emmerdale? Or a drama like Called the Midwife, for example? Or if you've ever met someone born on Christmas Day, you'd likely comment on sharing a birthday with Jesus or how many presents they must receive that day. So we Brits love the nativity. That's undeniable. But is it true? Well, that depends on what truth you are asking about. Historical, theological, or is it all just symbolic? Historically, the likely answer is no. It's more symbolic rather than a factual account of the birth of Jesus. The theological meaning to Christians is God becoming human. The Word became flesh, so to speak. Jesus is born in humility, not grandeur as would be expected for the King of Kings. An important message for humanity. It's more than anything else about God's intervention in human history. The birth narratives only appear in the two Gospels of Matthew and Luke, and there are many differences. For example, the Magi only appear in Matthew's versions, and the shepherds only in Luke. This is because each Gospel has a different message and target audience. The concept of a virgin birth, a miraculous or divine conception, is found in many religious and mythological traditions, not just Jesus. They include Ganesha in Hinduism, Horus from ancient Egyptian religion, Perseus in Greek mythology, and in some traditions, Buddha. There are no Roman records to confirm the census described in Luke during the reign of Caesar Augustus that would have required Mary and Joseph to travel to Bethlehem. Bethlehem itself is even now disputed as the correct destination, as there is another Bethlehem, Bethlehem of Galilee, just a short distance from Nazareth, which archaeologists think may be the correct one. A miraculous birth is often linked to a person said to have divine qualities and angelic visitations. And guiding stars are common for other divine figures in antiquity. For example, when the leader of the Democratic Republic of Korea, or what we term North Korea, Kim Il-sung, the grandfather of the current leader, Kim Jong-un, was born, according to the state narrative, there were miraculous signs at his birth, including a bright star and a double rainbow. And poor old Herod the Great. He is ironically best known for an event that likely never happened. The massacre of the innocents, the killing of all boys under the age of 2 in Bethlehem and surrounding areas on Herod's orders to ensure no rival could usurp his throne, is unlikely to have happened. He was capable of such an act without doubt, but it is meant to be symbolic. Theological rather than historical. Herod is the new Pharaoh and Jesus the new Moses. Both escape a massacre from a powerful worldly leader by divine intervention, and both lead their people to a new promised land. It should also be noted that the massacre of the innocents is not corroborated by any other source apart from the Bible. Artistically and culturally, it has inspired countless depictions in painting, literature, TV and cinema. These slain children are the first Christian martyrs, and a sobering reminder of the fear and ambition that can drive rulers to commit unspeakable acts. So, in summary, Jesus, the greatest character in Christianity, must also have the greatest birth narrative ever told. And this is exactly what the Nativity delivers. And Steve says, thank you for listening. And we now come to our third hymn. It's from the Green Hymn Book, number 82, People Look East. I now have to tell you that to conclude our service, we're all going to sing Little Donkey. Steve found multiple versions on YouTube, but he liked this one by Vera Lynn the most. Join in if you want, even if you can't sing particularly well. It's Christmas after all, and we're all going to get into the Christmas spirit. In Britain, getting into the Christmas spirit is code for you will have fun whether you like it or not. It's not optional, it's mandatory.